All right, it was a great day. Thought beautiful day. We had right at 200 former players here, which is awesome. Obviously, Coach Spurrier was back too as well, and that was great to see him. Pleased with how we moved the ball offensively. I think we got a little ways to go defensively. We got to get better in some areas. We got to continue to build our depth on both lines of scrimmage, but we have a lot of numbers, and that's a positive. That's how you get better. It's a developmental game, and to be able to take the number of snaps last week, we had 170. This week, we were right over 100 probably. We've got 2 more days next week, and the emphasis is going to be on our young guys. We got to continue to get these guys to help us, and when we start talking in terms of our 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th offensive linemen, feel more confident about that, and the same thing on the defensive line. But pleased with the progress that we've made, and but we got 123 days till we report, and that's 123 opportunities to improve and get better, and that's what we plan on doing. And I'll open up for any questions.
Will, you mentioned the 123 days. Just how crucial is it for the guys to do the throwing drills and everything they can do before they get back to fall camp?
Well, the good thing is we've got really good leadership, and we have guys that are going to be accountable within our organization. And, I addressed the quarterbacks and receivers because we've had, Brian missed a little time in spring. Debo's been in and out of spring. We've got to do a great job in the offseason, throwing and catching. And that's going to be huge for us. We got to make strides in the secondary. We got to continue to have more guys that are game ready than we have right now. That's the bottom line. So these 123 days will be critical for every college football team, including us.
How do you feel like the offense executed with the tempo and the things like that?
Very well. We had one procedure issue that we probably shouldn't have had, but we didn't have any last week. We had one today. Very pleased with how our guys have received it. It's been good for our entire organization from a defensive standpoint of having to play against it. But certainly I think that Jake plays better when he plays faster. And I thought, the first drive we were in cover 2, and he saw the whole shot. He saw it pre-snap. I knew exactly where he was going with it. We didn't get aligned correctly defensively, but that's what happens when you create some tempo. But I thought we dictated the tempo well. We didn't do as much look back as we will do in the fall, but to be able to dictate the tempo of the game and control that offensively. Now you got to get first downs to do it, and that's going to be critical.
How do you think Jake played overall today?
Good. I thought he was accurate. I think we had 7 drops maybe. We had a bunch, so we got to catch the ball better, and secure the catch before we start running with it, which was the issue in my opinion on several of them.
And your 2 freshmen, Jay and DeCarrion.
Going to be good players. At the end of the day, the game's got to slow down for them. DeCarrion's got to take care of the ball better. In traffic situations, obviously. But I'm excited about both guys. Michael Skarnecki would be our backup quarterback. He's had a very good spring. He throws it extremely well. He's got a very good grasp of what we're doing offensively. So both guys will continue to progress. And these Monday and Tuesday we're going to practice will be 2 huge days for both of those guys.
Trace the origin of wanting to move this offense faster, and how would you grade the progress from the start of that to now?
I think the progress has been very good. I mean, we've always had the mechanism offensively to play at a faster pace, and I've been very pleased with the progress that we've made. Going back and just evaluating and looking at some of the fronts we've got to block defensively, the only success that people have had running the ball against them is with tempo. So you've got to be realistic to say, okay, if we're going to be able to run the ball successfully against some of these fronts we got to play against in our league, we're going to have to play with a little bit more tempo and be able to dictate the tempo of the game, and that's what we're trying to do.
Will, specifically with receivers and linebackers, with Debo in and out and Bryson not on the field, do you think the guys behind them took the strides this spring to kind of enhance this team when they do get back?
Well, you look, Bryson was out on defense, and I really thought Danny Fennell had a really good bowl game against Michigan. But he continues to make some strides for us as a guy that can play outside backer and also rush the passer. So I think that was very beneficial for him. It was a huge spring for Shai and Ortre to be able to take all of those reps with Jake and be able to have those opportunities, which I think was huge. It was a great spring for A.J. Turner. It was a great spring for A.J. and Tyson Williams with Rico out, to be able to get all the turns and all the reps. And, again, in order to improve, you got to play the game. You're not getting any better, sitting in the weight room. So those guys certainly, I think, made some strides. I thought that, in our starting 5 offensive linemen, I'm pleased with the progress and where we are right now. We need more guys that will be dependable on game day. But Blake Camper's dedicated himself to the weight room, and I think he's done a fantastic job. Zach's back at his more natural position inside. Not that he didn't play well for us at right tackle, but I feel like he's a more natural inside player to get movement. Donnell's made a seamless transition to center. And Sedarius Hutchinson was one of our offensive players of the spring. We feel that good about him. Dennis Daly's taken the next step at left tackle. So we got to continue to get more guys that are able to do that. Kobe Smith made tremendous strides to me as a defensive tackle for us. And I feel like the two guys I would recognize as young guys, J.J. Mbare and Tyreek Johnson, are both guys who are going to help our football team next year.
Coach, I know you're always constantly evaluating, but how much stock do you put into what you saw today from some of these guys when you go back and watch the film in comparison to what they were able to do all spring long, getting ready to go to the fall camp?
Well, first day out that they've ever played in front of a crowd. So how do they handle the moment? How do they handle getting in Williams-Brice Stadium? So all of those things to me are a huge part of our evaluation. The coaches are off the field. It's not practice where they can hear a coach telling them where to align and where their eyes should be and what to do responsibility-wise. Pat Washington came on the field to help Evan Henson out a little bit because we have changed some verbiage, and Evan hadn't been able to practice because his class schedule is different from ours when he's playing basketball. But we worked those stuff out, and Evan's going to be able to help our football team. But, again, I think that we've continued to evolve and improve, and it's a huge day of evaluation. And Monday and Tuesday is going to be big days for us as well, especially for the young guys.
Will, a couple of questions. First, was anybody hurt? I thought I saw Markway.
Markway had a little sprained knee, but it's nothing serious. And Caleb Kinlaw had a shoulder, but I think he's going to be fine. That's it.
And then with your overall running backs, how good is it that a freshman like Fenwick, can come in, get 2 touchdowns when you already have kind of a stocked room?
No doubt. And to get the number of snaps, I want to say he had something like 50 reps last week. And to get the number of snaps, I don't know exactly how he got this week, but you get better playing the game. And you got to tackle. At the end of the day, we can talk about FUD and all that, and that's good. And in order to keep guys healthy in the season, it's critical. But when you have live football tackling, that's how you get better playing the game on offense, on defense, and on special teams.
Is this the first time you've had practices after a spring game like this? And what made you kind of say this is kind of more for the young guys than maybe doing a more standard practice?
Well, it's a great question. I really think right now you look at the guys that they're going on their 3rd year with us, like a Brian Edwards, to give an example, or a 2-year guy. They've played a bunch of football for us. We played more freshmen than anybody in the country our first year. We played a bunch of guys last year. So there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of ball for us. And there's some question marks we have on our team, especially on both lines of scrimmage, as far as the depth is concerned and what is the pecking order of those guys going into fall camp. We only have 9 scholarship players that aren't on our roster right now. So this is our football team. Now, obviously, we need those 9 guys to come in and help us, but we need to fundamentally get out and let these guys continue to improve Monday and Tuesday. And we have had a couple practices after spring games before.
A couple of your defensive players mentioned last week that they didn't think they were getting the ball out as well as they did last year. Have you noticed the same thing?
Yeah, that's something we keep. We chart every day. And T-Rob is in our defensive staff, who I think do a fantastic job of coaching turnovers and emphasizing turnovers. We have not gotten the ball out this spring well at all, which, hey, it's good for our offense.
Right. Have you identified factors, the factors for why?
I think as much as anything, you take a guy like Sky Moore, Dante Sawyer. Dante Sawyer led all defensive linemen in the Southeastern Conference with some sort of havoc on the ball, getting the ball off people. So, those 2 guys were the 2 guys that jump out at me. Chris Lamont's got his hands on a lot of balls. Jamarcus King got his hand on a lot of balls. So those 4 guys, I would say, are guys that we're missing them. Stephen Montag has done a really good job this spring of getting the ball off people, and has always had a knack of getting the ball off people. But I think a little bit of a knack, a little bit of it is from an experience standpoint of being confident, to be in position to make a play and to take a shot at the ball and when to take a shot at the ball. And sometimes with younger players, if it's not natural for them, you got to continue to rep it and talk about it and continue to identify violators of carrying a football.
Well, since the start of the Clemson game, Parker White's been really good. Has he been that consistent in your scrimmages and practices also? Or
yes,
what?
we had one day where we did not kick the ball well in the spring, and other than that, he's kicked it extremely well.
And is Bailey Hart going to get any kind of look at receiver, or was that just today?
We're a little thin at receiver right now. Bailey's a quarterback.
Okay.
We tried to fade ball on him a couple of times. We couldn't get it to him.
Well, speaking of fade balls, did you get on Coach Spurrier for letting that one slip away? Do you coach him up a little bit?
No, I will never get on Coach Spurrier. No, we probably should have gotten it a little bit closer in. I didn't really see it, but I have some people ran in front of me right when the ball was thrown, but I wish we had gotten that one.
And I think you may have answered a question too, though. But I know last year you had concerns in your overall kicking game. How do you feel now about your kicking game?
Well, I mean, Joseph Charlton, I think, is one of the better punters in the country. He's a guy that can really hang it up there. And, again, we will have a field goal competition in fall camp.
When you look at what Brian Edwards was able to do today, do you come away just saying that's a veteran who's good and knows what he's doing, or is there a little concern about where the secondary was when kind of matching up with him?
I would probably say that's a really good football player that's a difficult guy to cover, especially down the field. He's really strong at the top end of catches. He gets his hand on the ball. He attacks the football down the field, which he did on our sideline against Rashad. We've got to do a better job of playing the ball down the field as a secondary. But he is a guy that is continuing to improve and get better and better, and it's been a good spring for him.
Coach, of the new guys on the defensive side, were there any in particular that made an impression on you today?
Two guys. Well, I would say through the whole spring, JJ and Tyreek are two guys I'm excited about up front. Rosendo Lewis is going to be a good football player for us. R.J. Roderick showed up, had an interception today, but he's never played defensive back in his life. He's been an option quarterback at Cane Bay. So a guy that's got some natural instincts. He's an outstanding athlete. He can bend in his lower body. Israel is going to be a good football player for us. He's got to continue to get stronger so he can win on some of the routes down the field against some of the bigger receivers. But all of those guys, I'm really excited about on the defensive side of the ball.
Coach, going from the beginning of camp up to this point, what are some of the biggest questions that you wanted to have answered going into today, and have some of those questions been answered for you?
Well, I'm really excited about the 13 mid-year guys we've got. Obviously, Levante Valentine and Ernest Jones have not been able to partake, but the offensive linemen, Max Yamaya, Hank Manos, and Wyatt Campbell all have shown me some things. Darius Russ has done some nice things forward. At receiver, Deshaun Fenwick is a big, heavy back that continues to improve and get better and learns to strain every time out. DeCarrion's done some really good things for us. You saw his athleticism today, his presence on the field today. And again, the guys I just mentioned defensively, I'm excited about all those guys. They're going to be good football players for us. And that was good to see them come in and have success and see them progress. And that's all I wanted to see was improvement every single day, because you either get better or worse. You never stay the same. As far as our team was concerned, we got to continue to come at the safety position. I'm concerned about our nickel. Well, who's going to be our nickel? I think Keyshawn Nixon probably is our best fit for that position, but we got to answer some questions. Who's going to play outside? Because he's one of the better guys we've got outside. And then continuing on both lines of scrimmage to have more guys that we feel like can win in the Southeastern Conference. I knew you were going to ask it.
Yeah, well, what is Jalen Foster's standing as far as him having a chance to play his way into maybe having some opportunities?
Well, he's continuing to improve, and he's done some nice things. He had an interception today. But again, another guy that we've got to get better across the board in the secondary. We got to get more guys that are going to be game ready to play. Obviously, Jam being out, he's a very dependable player for us. That's going to be a good player for us next year. But again, at the corner position, at safety, the nickel, we've got to continue to have more guys that are going to be game ready in the fall.
Just to check, Darius Douglas, also one of those quarterbacks chipping in at receiver, correct?
He's a quarterback. Thanks, guys. Take care.